Hi y'all, welcome to the 13th episode of my Hypertravel with Hardie video series, in which we relive some of the trips I've taken over the last 10, 12, 50 years by means of the pictures that I took in that time. So this time we're going to Sri Lanka and Maldives and Chennai and Bangalore in India. Southeast Asia begins here, a Buddhist country where people smile for no special reason, are friendly for no special cause, a certain passivity nice for a change, passivity without the passion, passivity without even the prostitution, not much anyway, hell of a concept I figure. Passivity is a way of life, the cradle of Buddhism, old-fashioned Theravada from which it spread to all of Southeast Asia. Food, religion, script, and canonical language conquering hearts where warriors rarely succeeded in claiming turf. Colombo is bigger, massive and sprawling, but Kandy is sweeter, perched up on one of the middle rungs of the highlands, centered around a lake of its own design. The better for good views, the better for the good news, that the Civil War is long over and the country is ripe for tourism. But the war never really ends here, between immigrant locals and southern Indian interlopers. Bad for business, bad for bucks, bad for banks. And then there's the accommodations. I don't usually fall in love with my room, more likely to take a cheap dig at my cheap digs, but this one's the exception. $10 here, worth $1,000 to me elsewhere for no other reason than aesthetics, straight out of a Van Gogh painting, just waiting for a signature, straight out of the 1850s and the Dutch incursion, straight out of a woodworker's daydream, hardwood polished by decades and jackboots, walls of shiplap, clinker built and whitewashed, anterooms from broad suites partitioned off for modern-day backpackers and flashpackers, characters wanted and welcome at the old empire. Networkers shoot up in the Wi-Fi resto bar down below, playing at Facebook and drinking overpriced coffee, while men in skirts akin to kilts, lungies, and sarongs do the bidding for not-so-rich foreign tourists in this enclave of accommodation, lost in space and time in the vicissitudes of trade winds and old-fashioned backpackers with more books than bookings, maintaining the old ways, walk in only, lost in this day and age of online everything and digital download, dance moves, just fill in the blanks and go. The old ways are dying, but not here in Sri Lanka. Even the English language is from another era, likely Victorian, where hotels are restaurants and hostels are dormitories and egg rolls even have eggs, where gods reside in ancient ruins at Polana and Anuradhapura and Sigiriya, beckoning tourists in waves and droves with cameras and sport cams, waiting for the time to be right to make their return onto the main stage, serving up money from overpriced entry fees, the ultimate revenge on latter-day cash cows wearing Bermuda shorts and push-up brassieres, Russian and Chinese and other commies first in line. Sunday finally comes and I haven't been to church since February 2012. That was back in Majuro, FSM. Back when I figured I might be dying, pick a cancer, any cancer, must have worked, because I certainly don't feel like I'm dying now, never felt more alive in fact. Death now on back burner status, indefinite hiatus, waiting for a callback and options on future rights, plus a more prominent role in the sequel, agents negotiating furiously. The pubs in Kandy are for locals, sounds like a missed opportunity to me, or maybe zoning strictures. Putting all the pubs on the warehouse side of town, shorter walk for stevedores, I suppose, but hardly known to the tourist. Buckabrew and men lining walls in various stages of consciousness, or lack thereof, something you might, sometimes you just want to drink, but try to tell that to the hash dealers up by the lake, getting the tourists what they want, as if anybody really knows what tourists want. I certainly don't. Cherry blossoms are fine, but the big draw for most tourists is the beach, and lakes won't do for that, so you have to go southbound to Gal or thereabouts, Hikaduwa or something such, purpose-built for foreign tastes and tours, I suppose. Don't really know, haven't been there, where beaches are for bikinis and cocktails, not Muslim cocktails or Hindu coattails, and the water is pure and pristine enough to swim in. I wouldn't recommend that in Colombo. north or south. Negombo or Mount Lavinia. The beach is too close to the city to trust the water. Last time I did that, had to get an expensive shot and take antibiotics for a week to keep my genitals from rotting and falling off. Still, a beach is a beach if you just want the sand and the scenery. There's Negombo with its cheap 50s motels and the smell of rotting fruit and drying fish, or Mount Lavinia with its murky B&Bs and the smell of musty old wealth. And strangest thing of all, a railroad runs through it. So every time you try to get romantic, a train whistle blows. Could mean no grist for the Pavlovian mill. But no matter, I don't need to get all romantic. I always get lucky when I'm alone. Colombia itself is a case unto itself. Monster with tentacles spreading, cut from the same madras cloth as Kolkata, washed and left to dry under hot, blazing, relentless Indian sun. People breeding like mice, going forth and multiplying, the ghosts of previous foreign masters left to ponder the results of their handiwork. The English and their business instincts, the Dutch and their government, the Portuguese and their bastard offspring, all gathered together under the flag of Christianity, the cross and the sword, the book and the word. Sure, it's congested and the drivers are maniacs, but cool heads and cool hearts tend to prevail. A country inoculated with Buddhism will ultimately be vaccinated by Buddhism, regardless of who's on the morning loudspeaker. It's the people who make the place. Mate, feels like home to me, so see you there. The Maldives must have been the Islamic paradigm for paradise. Pristine waters, warm and wonderful, perfectly as you're going to like them. Gently throbbing surf and all the fish you can eat. French fries and hush puppies optional. Palms gently swaying, coconuts, bananas, and mango for the picking, and a handsome, gentle populace. Smiles free and willing, and a warm island welcome for the tired, weary travel, like Ibn Battuta, the Muslim Marco Polo, way back in the 1300s. He and his 4 local wives, not counting slaves, bogging it for the future and trying to civilize the natives, trying to get women to wear clothes. That's no problem today, boo-hoo. Many wearing full burqa head to toe, others towing the line of Holy Writ with fashion scarves and pseudo veils. Still others naked-faced and unafraid, sucking face in parks with boyfriends just like back home, but some even wearing full burqa in the surf, as custom permits if hubby requires it. Rules and regulations getting tougher all the time. Fast forward a decade and I'm back in the region, but not as a tourist, or even a traveler or adventurer. I'm here as a writer, looking to get my book published in India, since it's partially about India, as well as China and environs. It's called My Travels with Fahian, and it's for sale you know where. So when an Indian friend suggested that I do it there, I went for it. That meant meeting the publisher in Chennai, and then meeting my friend's brother in Bangalore, to do some map illustrations for the book. Thus began and ended my so far only foray into the far southeast of India, so close to Sri Lanka, hence the reason for this inclusion, as a possible trip comprising both regions. And it was a revelation too, if only for the glimpse of India's Silicon Valley tech district, which is what Bangalore represents. So if India once represented a dichotomy between the spirituality of its northern realms and the simultaneous slumminess of the same areas, then now I can add to it the lighter, brighter tech feel of the south. Bangalore is the brighter later envisaged by the tech industry, and something of a true revelation for a country known for its Vedic roots up north and its Goa-inspired chill scene along the west coast. So I stayed at Jayanagar to start, and then moved to Indiranagar for the long wait, of which both were quite nice. If Jayanagar the more techie, and Indiranagar the more central. If nothing else, it's nice to finally be somewhere in India where the Wi-Fi always works, and the temps are a tad bit cooler than the hot, sweaty coast. Check it out. A flight from Chennai to Sri Lanka is only a little more than $100 US. If you like this content, then please like and subscribe, and come back next week where we'll have something new. New place to visit. Bye-bye. Thank you now.